Okay, now it's time to do the top end. So I'm going to put the camshaft in. So I've got my camshaft, cleaned all that up, and we have a thrust washer which goes onto the camshaft up to the journal, like so. I've just lubed these bores here, and so we'll put the camshaft in, which goes the other way. So that's it, lovely. And then the camshaft cover goes on. I'll put a bit of oil on that. Now, as I rebuild this motor, the ignition system on this is going to be totally different, and I'm probably going to motor gadget for the electrics. So I won't need a tacho drive. So I've disconnected that actual gear out of there, and I made up an aluminium plug and plugged that up. And I've also cut the front of the taper off the front of the camshaft I'm not going to use the old mechanical fan. I'm going to go with an electric fan on here as well. So now we're going to put the cover on. Okay. I got some screws here for it. Replacing all the bolts with stainless steel cap head bolts, make it look nice and long lasting. Okay, that's that on. That's turning good. Now we'll go to the other side. Okay, we're on the other side of the motor. The camshaft isn't bolted up yet. Just that's a bit later. But yeah, I kept my rockers in plastic bags as they came off. So this is the left rocker. We've got the shaft. I've just lubed that up. Got a groove in there for the locating bolt, the locking bolt. So I'll just put a bit of lube on these little journals. And then I've got just a 6mm bolt in there to install it, which goes in about there. Bit of air in there actually. Then we put our rocker in. Spring goes to the centre. The actual foot goes down. Make sure your springs on your rockers are in the centre between the lug on the rocker and the centre pillar of the casing. Just make sure they're all nicely located. The rocker arms, you can see how they're kind of offset and pointing towards the centre pillar as well. Just make a note of that. Now we just have to line up the groove. There's the groove there. You just turn that around with the screwdriver. We get them lined up so we can get the bolt in, which is there. Here's the bolt. Got some lube on that. So you tighten that last bolt down. What's that one? Okay. And same on the right hand side. Okay, the rockers are in, and I'm going to put the camshaft flange and nut on and tension that up and just get in the right position. On the camshaft you've got a dowel pin and you've got a slot on your camshaft flange. I've got this camshaft pin positioned at about 5'2", and I'm going to put that on and have the holes, the two holes set at 2 o'clock, like so. Washer has outside written on it, so that goes towards the outside, and then the nut. Nut goes on, extended socket, welded a piece of pipe on it. Tension that up, put a socket handle in to jam that up, and I've got this set to 66.5. And one for good luck. Yep. Okay. Next we've got to set the relative position of the camshaft to the crankshaft, and they want those holes kept at 2 o'clock, so I'll leave it there. Okay, I've put the nut on, and I had the dowel pin should be facing at 2 o'clock. Now I'm going to rotate the camshaft until the bolt holes align with these on the casing here. There's two ridges which act as pointers to line the holes up with. It's basically pretty level, really. You can see it there. Then you've got to do, that puts the camshaft in the right position. Then you've got to do the crankshaft. So you rotate that round to top dead center. On the front side it's clockwise, on the back side it's anti-clockwise. Get that to top dead center, which I reckon is about there. Then this woodruff key should align with the, actually on this casting there is a slight little tiny dimple which acts like a pointer. I've actually put some mark on there so you can see it, but you want to get that woodruff key lined up with that, and that is the correct position between the crankshaft and the camshaft. I was thinking there last night, there is a more accurate way to set the crankshaft at top dead center, and that's simply to set up a dial indicator and then rotate the crankshaft or the motor clockwise on the front, and then bring up the left hand piston and so right about there is top dead center. And when we look at our pointer to our dial woodruff key, it's dead in line. So it's just kind of a double check, or another method of setting the crankshaft at top dead center. Okay, we've got our camshaft set up correctly. We've got our crankshaft at top dead center. We've got the cam chain on and sprocket, and the holes are in line with the back. So what I got to do is just bolt this up, and tension it. And we're tension it to 13 foot-pounds. Just hold the crank on the other side and just tension that up. Put it back on top of the center. Yeah, it's in the right position. And click on. And that's the camshaft on. Probably later on, I think it does say in the book to recommend to actually pull those bolts back out, put a little bit of Loctite on them, and redo them. So I'll probably do that later. But next, I'll just put the tensioner on, and then onto the heads. Okay, I've put the cam chain tensioner on. I've got the fixed guide plate here, but before we look at that, I've stripped two of these old CX500 motors now, and you can see through not checking the tension adjustment here, it's actually worn through the aluminium here, and this bolt always cops it. The cam chain just cuts this bolt out. So I fitted this little plate. To be honest, I don't really know what this plate is for. I think it's more just a support for the guide. Then this plate goes on. It's been checked for wear. It's all in good condition. Now they say to put a bit of Loctite on here because you don't want any of these bolts coming loose. So I am going to put Loctite on there. Yeah, it came apart like this, where this little plate is at the back, then the guide, and then the front cover. So yeah, I'll just put all these bolts in. They get tensioned up to 9 foot-pounds. I'm doing it at 8.5. Just tension them up. We'll actually fit the chain and then tension it. So chain is on. Tension is up to 8.5. I think some of the failures on these have come from actually over tightening. This one here is being kept loose or just neatly tightened, and the actual wear of the cam is predicted by this slot. Once this slot basically disappears, you need to replace the cam chain. As you use the bike, you should the cover will be on. You would loosen this, the tensioner would come out, and then you would retighten. So now the last thing to do with the cam chain is to rotate the motor for a full turn and come back up to top dead center again. On the dial gauge I'm going, which is there, and that should be the tension. Now just tension that up. That's in. Okay, ready to put the cylinder head on. Got my Honda OEM head gasket to make sure it seals. Now I'm just giving it a coat with this copper gasket cement. So I've just got that there like that. I might just let that dry. Okay, we're ready to install the cylinder head. Now I've got the all-important O-ring on the jet. Jet is in the right way with a small diameter inside. So the gasket is coated with the copper. That goes onto the dowels. Like that. It's ready to go on. Watching that O-ring. I'm just going to hold that down with a couple of these screws. And that O-ring doesn't pop out. Next we're going to pop in the, just going to put a dab of assembly lube on the ends of these and drop them into their cups. They say to pump about 100 cc's of oil in and over the rocket gear. I've done that. So next thing we want a rocket gear come in. They're going to mate up with the top. So, okay, I'm just putting the last of the bolts in. Now I'm going to tension these to 30 foot-pound to start off with. Bolt tightening sequence is 1, 2, 3, 4. Just give them a little bit to start off with. Okay. Now I'm going to take them up to 40. Okay, head's done. Cylinder head has been tensioned. I've rotated the motor to top dead center. Bolt holes on the camera straight. Woodruff key aligned with the pointer. Now the valve clearance on the inlet is 0.1 of a mil and on the exhaust is 0.12. So I've loosened these off and now I'm just going to set these to 1.1 of a mil here. Just screw that down. Yep. Okay. And 0.12 on the exhaust valve. Okay, lovely. That's it. So that's the left-hand cylinder complete. You can rotate that around. Exhaust valves opening. Inlet valves opening. And she's coming up to top dead center. Yep. Happy days. Okay, both heads are on. Rockers and valves have all been set to the correct settings. Now it's just time to put the rocker covers on. So whack these on, just a couple of bolts, and we're done. These don't have to be over tight. Don't want to crush the gasket too much. Okay, that's the rocker covers on. Might do one more thing and put the thermostat on. I've got a whole assembly ready to go in there. Okay, the last thing that goes on today is the thermostat housing. Got a new thermostat in there, all new O-rings, so we'll just drop that off and call it a day, I think. Okay, so that's it for episode 2. The cam chain is on, heads are on. Yeah, the next episode will be basically completing the motor.